Hey there, and welcome to Noctis on YouTube. Offshore oil rigs, floating cities in the middle of the ocean, never sleeping cities towering above passing ships, working silently 24 hours non-stop for 7 days, carrying out their tasks far away from the nearest shore. Billions of barrels of oil and gas are produced in these oil refineries and gas wells to meet the energy demands of the world's population. The oil industry is the center of the world's economy, and even a slight change in crude oil prices can have a significant impact on all countries. But have you ever wondered about the lifestyle and daily routine of the people who live and work on offshore oil rigs? While you may have heard that life on these amazing floating platforms is fascinating, there are several things you might not know. First of all, it's important to note that life on an oil rig is not luxurious. In fact, it's a place where people's lives are at stake every day they work. Although this may sound a bit exaggerated, the truth is that life and work on offshore oil rigs are both extremely challenging and unsafe. Let's take a look at the dangerous daily routine of a worker on an offshore oil rig. For the past 500 years, the demand for oil has exceeded the available supply. In addition to collecting oil from underground pipelines and oil wells on land, oil companies began to explore deeper waters and develop drilling rigs to extract crude oil from the seabed using hydraulic machines. One of the first places where offshore oil drilling was done was in the Gulf of Mexico. News of this discovery spread, and new fields were discovered in various waters, including Scotland and the North Sea. Why has crude oil and offshore oil rigs become so important to the world today? Most equipment today still relies on conventional energy methods that use fossil fuels, and burning fossil fuels can power factories, industries, vehicles, homes, and more. Environmentally friendly alternative energies, such as wind, water, and solar energy, are currently less efficient than fossil fuels. However, there are consequences to using fossil fuels, as they produce greenhouse gas emissions that impact global climate change. Despite this, the crude oil industry and offshore oil rigs remain the top choice due to their efficiency of use. Another reason why offshore oil rigs are so important is the effect of land drilling. To maintain these project operations, large plots of land are required, which can reduce the land available for the growing human population. Working and living in offshore oil rigs is a dramatic change for anyone who decides to step into this industry. A person must wear appropriate clothing to start working on the rig. So safety glasses, hard hats, protective clothing, and steel-toed boots are given to new crew members upon arrival. Routine safety training is conducted before and during work. Offshore oil rig workers typically work 8 to 12-hour shifts, with breaks for meals in the morning, afternoon, and evening. A worker also has to work night shifts since the industry operates 24 hours non-stop and 7 days a week. It may seem tough, but after a 2-week work session on the rig, workers will get almost 3 weeks off. When living on the rig, workers don't have to worry about food, laundry, or other accommodations. Rooms with bunk beds are common on oil rigs, given the limited space and land used. Moreover, offshore oil rigs usually have a smoking area where lighters are provided for smokers, as lighters are generally not allowed outside of smoking areas. There are also cinemas, televisions in each room, fully equipped gyms, indoor sports facilities such as table tennis, and computers connected to the internet, which are usually available on offshore oil rigs. For workers who live and work on oil rigs or for staff members such as medical personnel, catering, and others, life on an offshore oil rig can be very exciting and enjoyable, but it also has many risks. Thanks to newer and safer oil rig systems, the risks involved have decreased dramatically. However, caution and carefulness must always be emphasized by the workers. For oil rig crew members, their work shift is heavily influenced by the arrival time and work conditions at that time. Usually, after arriving on the rig, they will work for 12 hours and have a 12-hour rest period. However, the work schedule can vary depending on the job field. Since living on the rig for 2 full weeks with limited entertainment sources, the company must ensure that the crew works longer hours but still gets sufficient rest time. Although long working hours may seem inhumane, it's important to remember that the time spent on an oil rig is called working time. Meals and rest periods are included in this work period, and this time is designed to improve the welfare of the staff. Every crew member on an oil rig follows a detailed schedule strictly prepared to ensure that no time is wasted, because the day on an oil rig starts at midnight and the rig operates 24 hours non-stop. A worker who starts a night shift can follow the following schedule. At 11:30 p.m., wake up and prepare equipment for the work shift. At midnight, have the first big meal, then go to work and receive instructions for the day. After several hours of work, the first break is taken at 2 a.m., followed by the second break at 4 a.m. The second big meal is served at 6 a.m. and followed by personal time at 8 a.m. The third break is taken at 10 a.m., followed by the fourth break at 12 p.m. At 2 p.m., the third big meal is served, and the shift ends at 3:30 p.m. after the final break. Before going to sleep, the crew must prepare for the next day, take time to eat snacks, and communicate with their families on shore, socialize with coworkers, or prepare snacks in the always available kitchen. Throughout the schedule, although it may seem crowded, the provided rest time is crucial to give a break to the crew so they can stay fit and focused during their work shift. In addition, taking time to communicate with family and colleagues can be the emotional support that workers need to perform their duties well. On offshore oil rigs, there are also training and education courses available, because working on an oil rig is not a job that just anyone can do. The machines used, specific to the industry, and the nature of the work can be very different, and physical intensity can be very challenging. So it's not surprising that most oil and gas companies have strict requirements and qualifications for their employees. For those who want to work on an offshore oil rig, at least a diploma or specific training course is required. Salaries for oil rig workers vary depending on their position and level of experience. Specialized drilling engineers and underground pipe fitters are among the highest paid positions, earning around $200,000 annually. Even entry-level positions such as roughnecks and roustabouts can make a decent living, with salaries ranging from $40,000 to $60,000 per year. Overall, the pay and benefits for workers on an oil rig can be very attractive, but it's important to remember that the job also comes with unique challenges and risks. Companies also provide accommodation and benefits for families of workers, including complete insurance coverage. For adventurous types, working on an oil rig is a dream come true as it offers a dynamic field that rewards hard work and dedication. Staying connected with the mainland is crucial in any offshore work. It's the closest source of help, supplies, and emergency aid. That's why companies in this industry give a lot of thought to how they organize logistics for mainland transportation. One common way of transporting crew, staff, and equipment is through specially modified VTOL helicopters. Manufacturers like Airbus and the Bristow Group are well known for their helicopter models. There are different categories of these aircraft designed to serve various purposes. Light helicopters are for small groups of fewer than 10 passengers, including the pilot. They're used for shuttling small teams to and from the shore or inspecting offshore pipelines with a small crew. They can carry essential supplies, but no hanging loads. Medium helicopters come in two types, passenger and cargo variants. The passenger variant can handle larger groups of up to 15 people and is often used for shift change operations. The cargo variant can carry larger loads, including mid-sized hanging loads. Working on an oil rig may be tough, but the perks and salary are worth it. Workers get to handle advanced equipment that requires prior experience and work in different locations across the world. They work for 2 or 3 weeks straight, but then get the same amount of time off to spend with their families. And while they may have to report to the office occasionally, they also have time to relax. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.